Okay, so how are we going to start this? Hi everyone, my name is Kyle Calgren, and I had some thoughts about Sorry to Bother You, the new film by Boots... What?
This is really funny. You just said really funny.
It's my white voice.
So your white voice isn't just like your voice.
Oh yeah! Alright!
Today, in White Guys Talk About Race.
Today, and this white guy talking about race.
Hi, I'm Kyle Calgren.
I'm Jodie Searles.
First of all, Sorry to Bother You.
It's a really, really great movie.
It's awesome to see just such an openly anti-capitalist film.
It's one of the few films that really calls out how shitty the world is, and it does it without making fun of poor people like Idiocracy did.
Right, it's the...
It's like the good Idiocracy.
It almost like it doesn't treat poverty as a choice and a series of mistakes.
Yeah, because, it's more complicated than that. It's, an entire system that keeps you down, and generational wealth keeps you up.
And an entire new class of new millionaires, new Silicon Valley millionaires, who aren't held accountable by the old systems because they're revitalizing the economy.
Supposedly. Finally, a film that reminds you that it's actually hard to get a job. It's not actually easy. And gaps in your resume do make it hard to get hired.
And the kinds of jobs that do take people with gaps in their resume
often treat their workers badly. I know. I've been a barista. I've worked at Little Caesars.
Cinnabon for a summer.
I've worked at Postmates. I've been an usher. I've been yelled at by white women when I was supposed to watch their kids. I've had all those fun jobs for the downwardly mobile.
Yeah.
But it's so funny, this movie. So funny.
Yeah, because you distance yourself, and you're like, there's a level of absurdity. And
there are just like levels to it that I really enjoy. The living in the garage thing was actually great because there was a time. So I was living with a friend who had a 1-bedroom studio. But there was actually like a rumpus room, like an unused rumpus room, and I would spend most of my time there. So I was mostly just like hanging out on the floor of like an empty bar and like a putting green. And anyway, so living in that garage,
basically
room,
out of someone's garage.
Yeah, it really reminded me of that. Yeah,
it's kind of like the variant on your parents' basement, that sort of thing. Only that's not so much a nerd guy thing. It's an economic thing.
It's an economic thing. This movie is one of the few films that reminds the world also that there is, different kinds of working class people. Like, dare I say, black and brown working class people?
Yeah, almost
Asian working class people?
Okay, they're like think pieces upon think pieces about how many times, like, that traditional dog whistle Republican Party calling sign of, the true working class, the true working American, class. It's always coded as white. It's always coded as mine workers and not, the actual working class who actually lives on minimum wage or rather fails to live on minimum wage. It's modern in a way that's refreshing.
Yeah, I really appreciate Tessa Thompson's character's name is Detroit, and Detroit is an artist. But sure, like, day job is that she flips around a sign, which is what I used to do in front of the Little Caesars.
Really?
I was the sign flipper, yes. And so I was really, there's so much of this movie where I was like, it's me, I saw me.
Also, not enough Tessa Thompson in this movie.
Not enough Tessa Thompson in this movie.
She should have been the star.
Which is what my entire essay is going to be about, by the way. Well, I'm going to be talking about
there's not enough
things.
Tessa Thompson has always been underused.
She's very often underused.
She was underused in Creed, underused in Thor Ragnarok. She was underused in Dirty Computer.
Very underused, yeah. I'm waiting for Tessa Thompson to get a full-on starring role.
Yeah.
I think that she's really great. Her Twitter presence is great. She loves goats. If you sent her like a picture of a goat that kind of is in a pose similar to hers and like put the little picture of the goat next to her, she'll like retweet it. She loves goats, and she does not take it as an insult that people will be like, this goat looks like you. It's cute. It's cute. She's fucking cute. I love her.
Goats. Okay, good to know. Okay, so part of the reason why I wanted to do a vlog about this is because I want to talk about white voice.
Danny Glover's monologue explaining what white voice is one of the most amazing things that I've ever watched.
You want to make some money here? Use your white voice, like this young blood.
Hey, Mr. Kramer, this is Langston from Regalview.
Not Will Smith white. We're talking about all your bills are paid.
You've never been fired, you've only been laid off.
You don't need this job. You're just doing this job because you feel like it right now. You've got a party to go to. Like, just this, like, calm, like, nothing will ever faze you kind of voice. And when it just comes out, I was just like, that's one of the most genius mechanisms of this movie. It's not just like a white voice, it's a white upper class voice.
It's a white upper class voice.
Yes,
exactly. It's like spoken up in the front of the face with a general American accent. There's no regionalism, certainly, and it's all very articulate and forward and peppy.
Yeah, it's a very like class conscious voice, which is something that I feel like a lot of white people don't know. Where, like, for example, I'm Jamaican and I'm Southern. I'm a Jamaican person that was raised in Georgia. I was taught to speak in a certain way to impress upper middle class white people, upper middle class white teachers, and to get opportunities and to get jobs. And I feel like a lot of families are trying to, like, push the regionalism out of you in a lot of ways to try to make sure that you succeed. It makes you sound like you're better off than you are. Like, I feel like sometimes people think that my voice makes me sound like I'm better off than I am. Like, when I say that I'm poor, which is true, it might not come off, like, it might not make as much sense because I just sound like I'm okay. I just sound all right.
Arguably, that's the voice that I do when I'm doing my videos all the time. Because white voice is not just... It's the voice of authority, but a calming authority. It's just being okay with everything. And I think it does show up in white society, but, like, your life won't end if you slip in a y'all or a regionalism. Mm-hmm. It's like charming if you deviate slightly from the general American.
Yeah, the point is that you're not from anywhere, and you don't have anything, and there are no hang-ups. And I'm here for you, and I'm here to have a good time.
So I did this video last year all about voiceover. So I've just been thinking back to that. The white voice as the voice of power. But even though within the upper class, voices like those of David Cross and Patton Oswalt are, funny, but inoffensive.
Oh yeah, the two main white voices in this movie are
David Cross and Patton Oswalt.
And I couldn't tell them apart for the longest time because, okay, so Lakeith's character, Cash, his white voice is David Cross.
Full name is Cassius Green.
Green.
Cassius Green, get it?
Mm-hmm. Huh. And Omari Hardwick's character... who I don't know has a name. It's like Mr. Blank.
It's like, it's bleeped out.
His white voice is Patton Oswalt. And we don't meet Omari Hardwick until a little bit, and hear him speak until a little bit later. So for a lot of the early parts of the movie...
So for a long time, it's Ratatouille.
I thought that Cassius Green's voice was Patton Oswalt. And it wasn't until Omari Hardwick showed up and sounded like Patton Oswalt that I realized, oh no! Lakeith's voice isn't Patton Oswalt. Well, then what white guy is that? And I didn't know. It took a very long time for me to realize it was David Cross. And also, Detroit. Tessa Thompson's character has a white voice that is played by Lily James. Last seen in Baby Driver doing a very bad Southern accent.
What can I get you this fine morning, sir?
Everyone's Southern accent is bad.
I don't know what y'all are talking about. My Southern accent is brilliant.
She seems like a very lovely woman.
But she's also British, and
yeah.
the white voice she does is upper class British.
It's very like art girl voice. It's when Detroit's trying to be like, I am a legitimate artist kind of voice.
Get into the gallery, artist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I speak from the authentic place of yada yada, you know.
In order to become a slave trader, you have to adopt this white identity. And it's interesting that the vision of, resistance that we see is of color. And I do think that that's really important.
And the villain is the whitest man on Earth.
Yes, it is.
Okay, Armie Hammer's performance in this movie is... I mean, they tried to make him like a leading man. He doesn't work as leading man.
He does not. But he works as kind of just like a supporting character. Like, I think
as a villain, as like a white villain.
Yeah. But when we finally like meet him close up, he just does this like long line of coke.
It's a close up of a huge long line of coke. It's like a Family Guy joke. It just goes on and on and on and on. Speaking of the Armie Hammer character, I know Jordan Peele apparently rented out an entire theater so people could see this movie. Jordan Peele, like Boots Riley, has decided to code privileged whiteness in the form of oak paneling and taxidermy. They have the same mansion, essentially. The same interior design as the
because when we walked out, our roommate was just like, Lakeith Stanfield should just stay out of mansions.
Yeah.
There is an entity, and I think we're getting into spoiler territory here.
Oh yeah! Alright!
There is an entity. Well, there's a slave trade. I can't think of anything else to call it. Worry free is where you get free room and board, but you have to work. It's essentially just like
slave quarters.
Yeah, a sweatshop that you live in.
Mm-hmm.
And
a prison.
It reminds me of, in Ready Player One, they have those loyalty centers. Yeah, man.
You went to Ready Player One.
I did.
In this year.
I did.
Oh wait, did Ready Player One come out this year?
I think it did.
This year's been so fucking long.
I think we did. Didn't we do a Ready Player One vlog this year?
Yes, we did. That was the last one we did. It was ages ago.
Wow. Jesus. Yeah.
Time does not fly when the world is about to end. Which is actually another theme of the film. Because, he opens with that whole monologue about how
the sun's going to explode.
And all of a sudden, he stops saying that monologue once he gets a little bit of money.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
It's almost like, being poor
also takes a mental toll.
Yeah, and provides you with a sense of dread that makes every decision feel like a life or death decision, and like it could be your last decision, and everything that you pay for, every purchase is scrutinized, and it can have, a mental toll on everything that you do and how you perform artistically. And anyway, I'm not speaking from experience or anything. So that is the job that Cash gets when I don't know why I'm doing a lot of clapping, like I'm doing like a seminar. That is the job that Cash gets when he becomes a power caller. He's selling slave labor. And it's
with a white voice.
With a white voice.
I know you haven't seen 1776, right?
No, I have not.
Molasses to rum to slaves.
There's an entire song where a delegate from South Carolina starts singing about how complicit the North is in the slave trade.
Look at the faces at the auctions, gentlemen. White faces on African wharves. Seafaring faces. New England faces.
By singing about all those New England voices crying out,
"Put them in the ships. Cram them in the ships. Stop them in the ships."
And have you ever seen or listened to the Scottsboro Boys?
I haven't, no.
There's a song in the Scottsboro Boys where the lawyer that's gonna like try to help them is like talking about how great New York is.
But that's not the way we do things in New York.
it's just this really like hypocritical song about like how in New York it's better and our maid, you know, we treat her like family.
I was waiting in the courthouse for the trial to begin when I noticed in the men's room only white men came in. Well, I know that that's the custom here in Alabama, but that's not the way we do things.
We're so much nicer to the black people in New York, and it's just like this whole thing. Also, the great thing about the Scottsboro Boys is that all of the characters, black and white, are played by black people. So you get to see the black men play themselves, and you get to watch the black men play the white characters that are like subjugating them and lying on them, and it's hilarious. It's great. But yeah, it's Oh no, did I get dark?
No. I mean, I thought I got dark by bringing up 1776 and that song about slavery, but this is a movie about slavery, isn't it? At the heart of it.
I mean, yeah. The race stuff is actually really interesting, and sorry to bother you. Not just the critique of whiteness, which is clearly there, and the critique of how white supremacy fuels capitalism, which it does. Just so you know.
Yeah.
It does. There is also the fact that once again, we have a very, very light-skinned woman in this movie, and she is the most prominent black woman that we see. And
But it's Tessa Thompson.
But it is Tessa Thompson, and I love Tessa Thompson. There's no problem with Tessa Thompson. I wish there was one other black woman. That's what I wish. One other black woman. And I also wish that Tessa Thompson was given more to do. There's a reason why I forgot Jermaine Fowler's character's name. Because Jermaine Fowler, if Tessa Thompson's character could have just absorbed him, in my opinion. The only way that I feel like that character could really have worked is if it was a woman, because then it would be like an interesting opposing force, or if Tessa Thompson just absorbed him, because also that would give her more scenes, because she would be in direct opposition to Cash. It would be Detroit versus Cash on the picket line. But they could have been in direct opposition to each other. Like, could you imagine
as the performance artist and the strike leader.
The performance artist, strike leader, and they're glaring at each other on the picket line. They're angry at each other in the apartment. Mm-hmm. Maybe they have like an angry makeout session. Maybe they're like slamming doors. Like every fight that they have is about like her not being into his values or where he's going. So why wouldn't she be the one that's in direct opposition? She's supposed to be the one who is anti-capitalist from the jump. She's supposed to be pro-black from the jump. So why wouldn't she be the one to go after him first? And why does she ride with him while he's selling slave labor for a while before breaking up with him? It doesn't actually make sense. Like, I'm always in this position where I have to poke the gender holes, the gender narrative holes into things, and I don't like having this job, but I was thinking this the entire time.
Well, that's why we do vlogs together, right? I honestly haven't said much about the movie. You're doing great, honey. I don't know what else I can say about this movie. Go see it. And also, after you go see it, movies that even come close to it tonally. We watched Repo Man.
We did.
Because a lot of people compared it to Repo Man.
We watched Repo Man and we watched Putney Swope.
The changes I'm going to make will be minimal. I'm not gonna rock the boat. Rocking the boat's a drag. What you do is sink the boat.
And I'd also argue RoboCop, like parts of it. Definitely, definitely the use of television shows, like as interstitials, the world building. Yeah.
RoboCop. Who is he? What is he? Where does he come from? He is OCP's newest soldier in their revolutionary crime management program.
That seemed very, very like Verhoeven-y style satire.
And yeah, definitely see RoboCop. RoboCop is fucking great, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Kyle showed it to me. I hadn't seen it before he showed it to me, and I really liked it.
Yeah, I'm working on a Verhoeven piece. So. It's fascinating how macho all of these counterculture movies are.
Yeah, I noticed that too. There's a lot of masculinity flying around, a lot of like unchecked, uncritiqued masculinity.
Like that whole sequence in the elevator with the voice of Rosario Dawson telling Lakeith Stanfield, "You are in your sexual prime."
What does the voice say to women power callers? Is it a different voice for women power callers?
Do we see any women power callers?
They're in the background. We never see any women power callers actually speak, which I think is really interesting.
Also, powered is often coded as masculine.
Yeah.
I mean, just as a fashion icon,
it's a feast for the eyes. Wow, and we got this far in the vlog without saying the actual twist. We did it. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I don't want to tell the twist either. Let's just say
we shouldn't. Nay.
Let's just say that the twist is a furthering of the anti-capitalist.
The unyoking of
the anti-capitalist
unbridled
message. And, and also talking about the way that we use people as labor. And I think
they don't fool around.
Also, there's probably some prison critique happening going on there too. Yeah, I would say. Because, I don't know if you know this, watchers, but prisons use incarcerated people for free labor.
Of course.
It's bad.
Yes.
Abolish the carceral state.
They're turning people into horses!
Why would you say that?
We'll raise up our glasses against evil forces, singing whiskey for my men, beer for my horses.
No, for real, I love the twist because I just imagine this Saturday morning cartoon starring the horses going underground, becoming like Ninja Turtles and fighting crime. I love the horses. I could go the whole thing without mentioning the horses. I love the horses.